What's up everyone, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the up and coming banners, including character and weapon in Genshin Impact 3.2. So this is going to be the latter half, so of course you see Yae right here on screen, and accompanying her is going to be the pretty much all new Heizo, as well as Thoma from Inazuma. Well, technically he's from Mondstadt, but he's from Inazuma, okay? What about this banner? Yae Miko, as well as Mr. Worldwide, Tartaglia, Child, whatever you want to call him by, right? So I'm gonna make this video on the pretense of you guys wanting one of these characters. Now, a lot of you guys would be like, easy skill, but I'm gonna make it based off of evaluating the two characters, their strengths, weaknesses, along with the 4-star characters, and giving you guys a verdict on whether or not it's more worthwhile for you to pick up one or the other, depending on your account playstyle preferences, blah blah blah. Okay, so let's just start with Yae Miko. I mean, this character has been through a ton of scrutiny ever since her release. There was a ton of people who just didn't find her that comfortable to play. You know, she didn't really fit any major meta teams, although she was functional, and that's saying a lot, right? When it comes to Genshin Impact and its characters, for the most part, back in the day at least, they were well-designed characters, well-rounded, and they felt good to play in many different synergies, and oftentimes you'll find one that just works amazingly with them, and that's what most people stuck with. But Yae Miko was the case of, you know, releasing a character that almost felt unfinished, right? But fast forward to today, now that she's had artifact release, and also she's had the whole Dendro Electro change, she does definitely start to feel much better. Now, if you guys can see on screen, I'll share some footage with my current favorite team to play Yae Miko in, and surprise surprise, it's a Keqing team, digging all the way back to 1.0 characters, standard banner characters to pair with at that, right? You got the Electro Resonance, you got Nahida to really hypercharge the Electro element, and on top of that, you just have Zhongli here to make sure nothing ever goes wrong. And Yae Miko's off-field presence definitely shines here, although it's not the star of the show, but that is what Yae Miko was designed for. She's supposed to be an off-field DPS support or a burst support. As you guys see, I use her mostly as an off-field DPS because Keqing is dishing out some insane numbers that it honestly feel like, for me at least, it was not really worthwhile to keep Yae Miko prolonged on field to use her burst and then reset up the totems. Didn't need it. Had her for the resonance, had her for the electro application to fill up some downtime, off-field DPS, and that was it. Is she strong now? Obviously she is. She's a 5-star character with 5-star character stats, and combined with most Dendro characters, I mean, you can even pair her with Tighnari. In fact, her with Tighnari is another beast of a combination, so she definitely sees a lot more usage, or potential at the very least, nowadays, as opposed to when she was just released. Now, did she have a glow up like Kokomi did? No, because she is DPS oriented, and in this game, if you're a DPS oriented character, you better be bringing a lot of it, or else you're definitely going to be undervalued and appreciated in terms of your potential to fill a role on a 4-team roster. Okay, so that is Yae Miko, a solid now electro DPS, but still looking for that one team that'll really crown her like the queen of something. All right, now talking about the 4 stars, Thoma also has a really decent glow up. Comparatively to Yae Miko, they're actually very similar when it comes to how much better they've gotten since the release of Dendro, especially with Nahida coming out. You know, Burgeon is still in its infancy. Right now, we are very copium to think that Thoma is like the centerpiece to Burgeon burning comps. No, he is not. He is definitely somebody who can utilize them, albeit at a very rudimentary level, but the damage is, you know, it's there. You can see around like 20-25k. I don't know how to put this, but I don't want people to summon just for the sake of getting one Thoma, right? Thoma, to start, is an older character. It's difficult to think Hoyoverse is going to synergize the entire new and shiny Burgeon around an old 4-star unit. It's just hard to believe that, and I don't think Hoyoverse is really having Thoma in mind when they're designing this stuff. But that being said, if we have to pick a dud, likely I'm looking at Thoma right now to be like the weak link in the 4-star characters, right? Heizo is a solid, well-rounded Anemo DPS. I'm sure a lot of people had a ton of fun with Heizo, and to this day a lot of people are still playing him. He is not really synergizing with the old a Nemo roster, and he definitely feels like a breath of fresh air, synergizing potentially with some new characters. That's why when it comes to Hazel, I'm actually looking towards Scaramouche and Faruzan coming in patch 3.3. I don't know. I feel like we're on the cusp of something new when it comes to a Nemo. I just don't know what yet, because we have Zhao, unless they're power creeping Zhao, which that would be, you know what, I'm done feeling sorry for Zhao at this point. You know, it's been obvious he's been 6 feet under since release. Let's just put him to rest, right? If patch 3.3 comes out and there's a power creep for a Nemo DPS, we're done here with Zhao. Okay, I'm so sorry for Zhao mains. Anyways, back to topic. Let's talk about Layla. Right, here's the thing with Layla. Right now, she's the big question mark of these banners because she's a new character and she definitely feels like a somewhat of a utility power creep. Depending on how much damage or crowd application she can apply off field, there could be potential here. Right, she could deal decent damage with decent crowd application while also giving you a shield. That is like pretty damn good. That's pretty high value. But of course, being a 4-star character, people are going to be wondering about what about the constellation. So do I need to get C1, C2, or C4, C6? Where is it going to be at? So that's going to be the thing to look out for. Overall, it's a situational banner. This isn't one of those banners like, oh my god, amazing, jump on it right now. Definitely situational, all centered around the 5 stars. The 4 stars are okay, pretty good in some cases. Like Hazel is a pretty decent 4-star carry if you are newer to the game. He probably likely will be one of the strongest 4-star DPS you can pick up right now, right? So that's the Yae Miko banner. Tartaglia banner thankfully has the same 4 stars, so we're not going to talk about them. Let's talk about Tartaglia. Now this man, Mr. Worldwide, truly Mr. Worldwide, because ever since his release back in 1.1, I believe, he's been synergizing extremely well with all characters that's been, you know, able to synergize with them. Up until this point, he's still incredibly strong. Like with Dendro coming out, he's a Hydro unit, and also with Elemental Mastery. You guys know there used to be this build where you stack Elemental Mastery on Tartaglia and he would just like one-shot anything with his ult, like Vaporize. So that has just gotten way better. He can be played legitimately as a nuker. He can be played legitimately as an on-field driver. He can be played as a reaction support DPS. The man just does everything, right? Mr. Worldwide truly lives up to his name. He is a jack of all trades. I mean, is he a jack or like a king of all trades? He's extremely good. I would say he is likely one of the most versatile characters. If we were to say, if there's a character that doesn't get talked about enough and appreciated for what they do in the game, it's gonna be Tartaglia for me. Like, we talk about Hu Tao, we talk about Ganyu, we talk about Ayaka, but nobody really talks about Tartaglia. This man is absolutely cracked. Like, he is really good. Between him and Yae Miko, he's the obvious choice if you're gonna pick up a character. Now, the thing people definitely have with Tartaglia is how weird his elemental skill feels, but it takes some time to getting used to playing around the limiting CV that you get to use with. Like, usually it's about like 8 to 10 seconds max. You don't want to go over that, but that is more than enough to dish out enough damage to get the job done. And especially when he can be flexed into like 3 different roles in the game at a very high efficiency as well. It's hard to argue that Tartaglia isn't the shining star between Yae Miko and him. So that's going to be Tartaglia. Don't want to spend too much time on the characters because I'm sure you guys know a lot about Tartaglia. At this point, I'm sure some people are slowly creeping their way to C6 with this guy since his first ban. This is like what, his 4th rerun. So you'll get there, and once you get him to C6, yeah, you do lose out on a little bit of potential due to his C4. It's wacky, okay, it's wacky, but definitely not really worth it to to dump money for. Slowly work your way to it. Now, let's move on to the weapon banner. Now, this is going to be the thing that ties it all together. Pretty solid weapon banner. This bow is pretty good, and this Kaguya Verity is I've been doing a lot of research and talking to a lot of different people, and the consensus is that they want Kaguya Verity for their Nahida. Now, I do have Nahida's signature weapon, so this weapon is definitely much less alluring to me. In fact, I don't think I'll be pulling on this weapon banner because I already have the bow and I don't really need any refinements on it. The 4-star weapons are decent, but I see the bell, which I know it's like a freaking walrus magnet at this point. I'm just going to be pulling dupes and dupes and dupes of this thing. So likely not going to even be going for the 4 stars. I have most of these 4-star weapons at refinement 5, but for you free to plays, all right, for free to plays, here's the thing. Take a look at patch 3.3. Are you going to be pulling for Scaramouche? Are you going to be pulling for Faruzan? What about Dehya? Because Dehya's likely right around the corner, and I'll hide them. If out of these 4 characters, you want none of them. Right? You're like, I don't care, right? I'm saving for Raiden Rerun. I'm saving for Zhongli Rerun. Whatever you are saving for that is like far out in the horizon, it may not be the worst idea. Listen, hear me out. It may not be the worst idea to try to get one of these 5-star weapons. Well, of course, depending if you have Tartaglia. If you don't have Tartaglia, I mean, the Polar Star is a decent bow, but without Tartaglia, it's a little more difficult to fully proc its effect as easily, right? So here's the thing. You have to be the final judge of this call. The 4-star weapons are pretty decent, right? The Favonius sword and the Catalyst, although not the most utilized compared to the other Favonius weapon, they're still really good Favonius weapons. The Dragon's Bane at this point, I think there are better options. A lot of you guys would have much better options than Dragon's Bane, but for the newer players, definitely a good option for some of the 4-star. Even 5-stars can use it, like Hu Tao can definitely use this weapon, right? So that leaves the stringless here on the banner. Really, I think is still the most solid and honestly well-rounded weapon. But yeah, I think it's a decent weapon banner, but it really depends on what you're missing. Do you really want to hunt for refinements here? Like, do you want to pick up a new weapon? Do you want to hunt for one of these 5-stars? If you can put one of these 5-stars to pretty good use, let's say you have Tartaglia in your roster, it may not be a bad idea to try to hunt for the bow. And if you get Kagura's Verity, I mean, Nahida really would appreciate this weapon. So most free-to-plays or low spenders probably didn't even get a weapon for Nahida because it wasn't necessary. And if you end up getting the Kagura's Verity, just think of it as a huge upgrade for your Nahida. So really try to put yourself in these kind of win-win situations, right? With all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. I do think, you know, these are pretty decent banners, especially for players who just started like a patch or 2 ago, or people picking up constellations for either Yae Miko or Tartaglia. Honestly, I think you can't really go wrong with either of these characters. But if you want a more flexible and challenging playstyle that is very high risk and high reward, go for Tartaglia. If you want a more consistent character that is newer and less hassle to deal with, then definitely Yae Miko. On that note, I'm going to take my leave, and I wish you guys the best of luck when summoning. So until next time, urge you all to stay safe, peace, and bye.